Alright, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. Once again, it's your show, Find Your Voice with the Oxygen. We're here this Monday morning, and it's a beautiful time to be in the studio. I love the studio. I love this place. You know why I love the studio? Because it's a time where a place where you can express and just say it, and the world hears what you say. And ladies and gentlemen, today we'll be dealing with something very instructive, something very powerful. Remember, we started out 3 weeks ago with the last 3 episodes of the show on the leadership challenge, and we're still talking leadership. I'm sure you understand in the entire African region right now what's happening is there's a leadership crisis, and that's the truth, and that's why we have to talk about the leadership challenge. And now we're trying our best to see how we can provide you value that will help you find your voice, and that's what we do on the show every day. Every Monday morning we come right here and help you to find your voice. And today we'll be looking at the role of developing the next generation of leaders. We know that we have had leaders who have come on board and led at different point in time in our organizations. We have leaders in church, we have leaders in schools, we have leaders everywhere. In governance, we have leaders, people who just take the reins of affairs and direct the ruler of the organization to wherever they desire. That's what they think leadership is. But in the last 2 episodes of the show, we had talked about who a leader is and what leadership is all about. Today we want to focus our attention on one very important subject matter, which is developing the next generation of leaders. Now, you see, it's important for us to talk about this, because if you don't develop the next generation of leaders, we're going to keep in a way that we will not be able to understand or fathom where we're headed. And believe me, when people do not understand leadership, there is bound to be crisis. There is bound to be a lot of troubles and turmoils, and there's bound to be poverty. There's bound to be hardship and all of that. So you see why leadership is important, because leadership can change the trajectory of an entire organization or nation or a people and bring us to the point where we will find succor. It takes leadership to build an economy. It takes leadership to build a business. It takes leadership to build a family. It takes leadership to build your personal life. It takes leadership to find your voice. And that's why today we'll be dealing with this all important subject matter. But just before I go into the main of the program, let's hear the signature tune again, Anthem of Victory by Zachar Valah. Welcome back to the show. It's Find Your Voice with the Oxygen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back right here. We're dealing with this subject matter real quick, and we want to deep dive right now. Listen, guys, we're just starting this very important segment, and this is developing the next generation of leaders. And I want to talk to you about this real quick because, hey, I'm so excited this morning. I'm fired up because when you talk about leadership, everything in my body just goes high up there. The reason is because leadership is not about position, but leadership is about the things you do and how it impacts your life and society. Leadership is deeper than what you think. Leadership is very essential. Someone said something about leadership. Say leadership is like beauty. When you see it, you know it. Wonderful quote there. And listen to this. We need to begin to build the next generation of leaders. And how are we going to do this? We're going to talk about all of that. And the first segment today, I just want to share with you the role of education and mentorship. That's for the first segment. We're going to look at that. Leadership is important, but you know what? Leaders are made. Leaders are made. Leaders can be born, but leaders are also made, because education plays a very important role in leadership. And when you talk about education, what you're talking about those key things that people learn in the course of their lives that embed into them leadership traits, leadership qualities, leadership abilities, leadership skills. And that's where education comes to play. So we can learn how to lead. And that's why it's important that you allow certain things to take preeminence. And leadership is important because without education, now when I say education, I'm not talking about certificate. I'm talking about enlightenment. I'm talking about access to knowledge. I'm talking about openness to learn and improve on yourself, because we had leaders who were not literate by the way we define literacy now, by the way we define education today, but they led so well and they did so well in their leadership style. So we're talking about leadership in education right here. We're saying, listen, it's important that yes, you go through school, but you open up to enlightenment, you open up to learn, you open up to get the wisdom that education can provide, either a formal or informal education system. But there's another element that is very important in leadership, and that is something that I believe will help any generation to grow and thrive. And that's something that we have taken for granted for quite some time now. Never used to be so. Back in Africa, in the African context, we knew that leadership was about mentorship, and mentorship was the key element that was utilized, a key role that was utilized in developing leaders. And that's why I'm advocating that if we must build the next generation of leaders, we must take mentorship very seriously. We must take mentorship very seriously, because that is one sure way that we can build the next generation of leaders. So mentorship is something that can be nurtured, it can be taught through a young age, through universities, through schools, but can be imbibed best through mentorship, because education alone is not enough. We have a lot of people who are educated, and when you see them in the race of leadership, you wonder whether they even went to school at all. And that's because they were not properly mentored. Some of them say they have mentors, but when you look at their attitude, you look at the attitude of their mentor, you know that that's not what mentorship should produce. So mentorship plays a vital role, and a good mentor is someone that provides guidance, shares wisdom, and helps to navigate the complexities of leadership. That's what leadership mentorship really is. So if we must build a society with a new generation of leaders, then we must begin to look for the new generation of mentors who understand the tenets of leadership, mentors who understand what must be done to take nations out of where they are to where they ought to be. Because the current crop of leadership that we have and we're complaining about can mentor the next generation. So those who know what to do and are not doing anything about it, there are those who will be blamed in the next 5, 6, 10 years. So if you're a mentor out there, just like I am, you need to start mentoring someone, because mentorship is the key way to go. And by the way, now for those who may want to struggle with it, there is an organization called the Mentoring and Career Development Institute in Nigeria, and that organization does a great deal in mentoring. They help mentors build capacity to be successful at the business of mentoring. And that is something that we need to begin to consider in our nation and in our space. Because listen, when you think about the mentors in your life and how they've helped you, you realize that you wouldn't have been where you are today if you didn't have those mentors come to support you, guide you, navigate through the complexities of life, and bring you to where you are today. So mentorship and education, they have a key role to play in developing leaders. And so when you talk about leadership, when you talk about the things you want to achieve, how you want to develop the next generation of leaders, you want to think mentorship. You want to think mentorship. You want to think education. All right. I know an organization, a religious organization today, that I was doing a study, and I found that they made a policy not to not to hire a pastor who has not attained at least a first degree. And I began to ask why. I thought it was about anointing. Yeah, it should be about anointing, it should be about the calling, the grace, the power. And in my deep search, I was told that the reason why is because when you go through the educational system and you allow the system go through you, you're going to have certain level of exposure, and you'll be able to manage relationships better. You'll be able to understand certain things, and when some information is passed across to you, you'll be able to digest the information better and utilize it much more appropriately. And then when the anointing sits on that, there's better result. I said, whoa, oh really? I see. So you see, education is playing a key role in leadership. That's what I'm saying. That's just the bottom line of what I just pulled out. Education is playing a key role in leadership today. So because people are considering that, and that's why when you go take a job, they look at your papers, they look at your CV, they want to see what you have, how many schools you've gone to, what you've learned, what skill set you've acquired in the course of your education and training, because education trains you, disciplines you. It's a regimented system. There are courses, there are timelines, there are sessions and semesters. So everything is there's a scheme, there's a process you need to go through. That's great, but I always say this: after you've gone through all of that, you need mentors. Believe me, you need men and women who've tested the waters, who know what it feels like, who have gone through the trail of challenges and have overcome, and who can tell you, do it this way, or apply yourself this way, look at this strategy, explore these options, and see what best you can get out of it, because they've been through it, and those are mentors. And that is something we need to begin to pay attention to in our space. In the entire African coast, we need to pay attention to mentorship. We need to work on that. And if you are there listening, watching, you need to understand this. If you don't have a mentor, I will always advocate you get one. In different areas of your life, by the way, you can choose a mentor yourself, find someone that can help you. But we're talking leadership today. You want to lead, you need a mentor. Everybody is a leader in their own right, but somebody has to take the reins and direct the organization, direct the people in a particular space and direction. So that is why mentorship counts for much, right, guys? So it's important that we take this into account and begin to walk around it, because you will get to understand why these things are important as we go down into the show, get into the second segment where we talk about the leadership skills that you need. We're going to be discussing that extensively. I've been able to isolate 6 key leadership skills, and I'll be sharing that with you in the second segment of the show. But before we get into that segment, I'd like to play a very powerful song I love, Hall of Fame. The song is coming your way, and I want you to enjoy it. But hey, those of you on this platform, I'm going to mute it now because I don't want issues with Facebook. You know what I'm talking about. So just stay on the show. But the song that's going to be playing is Hall of Fame. Enjoy it. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a very beautiful piece there. Understanding. It's called the Hall of Fame. That's a musical break, and we enjoyed it right here in the studio. I love the song Hall of Fame. Oh my word, this song says it all. It talks about the lyrics, is so blasty, so beautiful. I was just looking at the lyrics and trying to sing along. And let me just read out a few things about the lyrics that just gets me enthused so much. It says, yeah, you can be the greatest, you can be the best, you can be the King Kong banging on your chest, you can beat the world, you can win the war, you can talk to God, go banging on his door, and you throw your hands up, you can beat the clock, you can move a mountain, you can break rocks. Some will call that practice, some will call that luck. But either way, you're going to the history books, standing in the Hall of Fame, and the world's going to know your name. Because you burn with the brightest flame, and the world's going to know your name. And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. My word. That's a beautiful piece there. The lyrics are mind-blowing, and I just love it. And that's why we're talking leadership, because if you push through and listen to what we're saying and gain the knowledge and wisdom we share, you can be on the Hall of Fame. This is your show, Find Your Voice with the Oxygen, and we're reaching out live here on this beautiful darling station, Grace Impact Radio, the radio station that brings to you world music and entertainment all combined together. And that's what we do here. Every Monday I come on the show and help you find your voice. Ladies and gentlemen, we're moving to the second segment of the show, and what I want to talk about is cultivating leadership skills. Remember, we're still dealing with the subject matter, the leadership challenge, and today's episode is developing the next generation of leaders. And I want to share with you at this segment right now, cultivating leadership skills, and I've isolated 6 very powerful leadership skills that any leader must possess. If you don't have these 6 leadership skills and you have everything else, you're not a leader. You're gonna fail. Trust me, you'll fail woefully. You're gonna fail woefully. You get an F. If you're a leader, you don't have the 6 skills, you get an F. Right? You know, back in the day when you write your exams, you want to get admission, they'll tell you need 5 credits. So this is the 6th credit I'm giving you. Need this 6th credit to pass your jam into the Hall of Fame of leadership. You don't have this 6 credits, no, you're gonna forget it. No admission for you into the leadership world, into the Hall of Fame of leadership. No admission. So let me just run them quick, and let me talk. I'm going to talk to each point. I'm going to help you to navigate and understand and appreciate what we're talking about here. Ladies and gentlemen, let drums roll. Bang. The first leadership skill you need is called critical thinking skills. That's right, I got ya. Critical thinking skills, and I'm going to help you to just digest each of them. What does critical thinking skills really talk about? It's your ability to analyze and evaluate information objectively. Your ability to take note of the words, very important. I don't use words carelessly, very intentional with words. It's your ability to analyze and evaluate information objectively. Now, what critical thinking skills does for you is that when you have some issues or something that's coming up, you have an argument going on, you will not be biased. You're going to look at the substance of the matter, you're going to look at the weight of the argument, and you're going to pick objectively the well analyzed and evaluated information from the argument, and you will base your judgment on that evaluation analysis without any form of bias. That is critical thinking skills. Every leader needs it. Every leader cannot do without it. So it helps you to assess the credibility or sources of information, of an argument. In an argument, you will be taking decisions based on evaluations of what you have done objectively. You're going to be taking decisions based on the analysis that you've spread on the table. You know what, I watch movies and I see when they show us the scene of the Oval Office, and then they go to the from the Oval Office, the president of the United States of America, for example, they go into there's this room, what do they call that room again? There's this room where they go and they want to take a decision, the military chiefs, joint chiefs, and all of that, situation room. Thank you very much, my producer. Thank you for helping me out there. So we're the movie guys. We watch a lot of movies. Yeah, I love movies. Now they get into the situation room. My last son asked me, Dad, why do you like action movies too much? Every time you like movies where they are thinking, they analyze. I say, because this world without analysis, you're finished. So in the situation room, watch this. They're going to be giving the joint chiefs will speak. This one will talk. The army, the navy, the SEAL. Everybody will be giving the analysis. The president's job is to take all those analysis, evaluate the information they are bringing, and ask critical questions. For example, they want to do a drone strike. He's going to ask, how many casualties are we going to have? Civilian casualties. They'll tell him. They say, how can we get this thing done without that number of civilian casualties? What can we do to reduce the number of civilian casualties? They'll do, okay, we're going to do that. And then they'll tell him, if we allow this guy leave that bunker or leave that environment, we cannot strike because the civilian casualties will increase. And then he'll say, can we do a precision strike? What can we? So you see, what's happening in that scenario that I'm painting right now is critical thinking. It's analyzing and evaluating the information that they're providing so that it can take a credible decision that will give the desired result. Now, imagine if the presidents in Africa, all over the countries in Africa, most of them do, some of them do, I know, will take decisions for our nations with this level of analysis and evaluation. I don't think we'll be here in Africa. We'll be far, far ahead because we got everything we need. You see where leadership is the problem? That's why I say if you don't have these 6 skills that I'm giving out, that leader can't succeed. Critical thinking. All right, let me allow you digest that for a bit. Let me move to the next one. The second one is problem solving skills. You see how I'm linking them? Because if you don't think critically, you can't solve a problem. Now, what do you do with the problem solving skills? Oh, I'm getting into another dimension right now. Let me ask my producer to just my studio manager to help me put in the Zaka Valaha underneath so that to help my mood. I'm jiving right now. I'm floating in space. I'm going somewhere. Let me just hear that tune. My word. Let it filter. Thank you. The next is problem solving skills. Listen, what that skill does for you, it helps you identify solutions to specific issues. Problem solving skills help you identify solutions to specific issues. So let's take a very critical issue in Nigeria for example. Let's use Nigeria for our case study right now. There's an issue to unemployment. There's an issue of hunger, poverty. There's an issue of high rate of school dropouts. There's an issue of high rate of children out of school. Now there are so many issues. But problem solving skills will help you isolate one issue, identify the solution to that specific issue, and resolve that challenge or that obstacle. That's what problem solving skills will do for you. As a leader, you pick on an issue, you sit down with your team, and you say, listen guys, what do we do? How do we do what we need to do? When do we do what we need to do? How do we deploy it so that it will be beneficial to the people? And then when that decision is taken, implementation starts. Notice that when implementation starts, people won't feel the impact immediately. So you have to show and tell. You have to bring it to the people and provide a solution right here. Find your voice. Bring it to the people. As you're taking steps, let the people know you're taking steps. Show them the steps you're taking. We have the social media, we have televisions, we have radio. Show them. That is problem solving skills. And before you know it, the solution is on the table. And then you move on. Skill number 3. So check yourself. Do you have the first and the second skill I just analyzed? Find out. If you have them, just score yourself 2/2 for now. Let's go. The third one. Strategic thinking skills. Oh my word. This one is big. Now, what is strategic thinking skills? It's simply your ability to plan for the long term and to have foresight. That's what strategic thinking skill is. So you find out that somebody does something today. He's not doing it for the immediate gain. He's not doing it because of what he wants to get out of it right now. He's doing it, taking those steps because he has a 5-year plan. And he's saying, if I do this right now, I plug this into this, I plug that into this, by the next 6 months, I'm going to get this result. And I push to the next dimension, the next level. By the next 1 year, I'm going to get that result. And my target is 5 years down the line. And intentionally, strategically, he moves from one point to another, deploying and taking that long-term planning and foresight into account to achieve an overarching goal and objective. And he keeps moving consistently strategically so, until he gets to the El Dorado he wants. Let me give you an example from scriptures about strategic thinking. There's a man who's called Zacchaeus. This man was a short man according to description, right? The Bible called him short. One of my friends said, you don't say people are short, you say they are brief. When you say they are brief, they don't get angry. So whether I was short or brief, well, you choose. It says Zacchaeus heard an information that Jesus was going to pass on a particular road. Now take note, he went and did his research and found out the particular route that Jesus will pass. And he knew that he was disadvantaged. What did Zacchaeus do? He ran ahead of everyone, located a tree called the sycamore tree that was placed, that grew right beside the road and branched out into the road. He climbed on that tree. You can imagine a short man climbing a tree. You don't want to imagine that, guys. I tell you, it's tough. For tall people, they struggle. How much more a short man? So I want to imagine how long it took Zacchaeus to get on that tree. But because he was strategic in his thinking, he knew that staying in the midst of the crowd, he won't be able to see Jesus. He won't get the attention he needed. So he climbed up the tree and positioned where Jesus was going to pass. And that way, he would not be omitted in the crowd. He must be spotted because he was the only man on that tree at that location. And so Jesus couldn't help but notice him and told him, come down. Today salvation is coming to thine house. What did Zacchaeus simply do? He applied this skill called strategic thinking skills. So you, as a leader or one who wants to be in a leadership position, do you think strategically? Are you thinking about amassing wealth for now as a leader, or you're thinking about the good of the people in the next 3-4 years? Have you ever wondered why the tenure of office is not 1 year? Because in some associations, tenure of office is 1 year. In some groups, tenure of office is 2 years. Because they don't expect you to do too much within 2 years. But you find out that in governance, tenure of office for the local government is 3 years. Tenure of office for councillors, 3 years. Tenure of office for presidency, governors is 4 years. Senators, reps, 4 years. Do you know why that extension for those number of years? Both in the US and in Nigeria and some other African countries. Have you thought about why that length of time? The reason is so that strategic thinking can be applied, strategic planning can be applied, so that if you start something in the first year, by the second year it should kick in, by the third year results should be showing all over the place, and by the fourth year, if you delivered value, everybody will see it, and then campaigning for the next time in office won't be a problem. Come on, guys, this is not rocket science. This is strategic thinking. Oh, sorry, not everybody has it. Oh my world, shaking tables here today, but it's okay, it's fine. We're talking leadership. I mean, you can't talk leadership without shaking tables, can you? The next one, which is the fourth one, is what I call emotional intelligence. Well, it's a new form of intelligence that's going gaga. Everybody's, oh man, emotional intelligence, EI. Oh, no more social quotient, no more intelligence, no more IQ. We're talking about EI. Excuse me, listen. Emotional intelligence is simply understanding and managing your emotions effectively. And the most important element in emotional intelligence is the word called empathy. Oh man, did you hear that? Empathy. Now, empathy talks about your ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and respond to them based on the feeling that they have at that given moment, so that when you relate with people, you are able to understand how they feel. Some leaders are rash, brash, insulting, can downtrod people. They forget that there's something called empathy. No, it's not pity. Empathy is different. Empathy is putting yourself in someone else's shoes and responding to the person the way you would have loved to be responded to if you were in that shoes. That's the simplest way I can define empathy for you. How can a leader be in a position and see the people suffering and dying, traveling on terrible roads, and yet they are appropriating funds to just, oh man, there's no empathy. You see, that's why I said If you don't have all of these elements I'm going to share, you need these 6 credits. So this 6 credits to be a leader, you need it. 6 credits in what are these skills I'm sharing. If you don't have all 6, if you have 3, you will not be admitted into the University of Leadership. You must pass the 6. Emotional intelligence, your ability to navigate social complexities and make informed decisions. I gave a young man a task, and he went on, he did a report. The report came in late, a bit late, but he gave the report actually. He did the job, and he did it well. On a normal day, I will ask him, why did you submit this thing late? But emotional intelligence told me, listen, this guy went out of his way to get this job done. There might be factors that may have delayed his submitting the report. You don't need to begin to find out what happened or what didn't happen. What did I do? I picked up my phone, looked through the report, and I commended him for a job well done. And I said to him, keep up the good work. I'm impressed. And the young man replied, oh, thank you very much, sir. That singular commendation took his confidence level from 0.3 to 8. Empathy. I understood that though he submitted that thing late, if I would just give him a commendation, it will boost him so well. And I did. That's empathy. Understanding how the next person would feel. I had a young man, we're talking, and I said something to him. I told him, I'm proud of you. I'm talking about a young man that's about 27, 28 years. And he sent me an emoji of crying, this emoji thingy. And I said, what's the problem? He said in his life, his biological father had never told him that he's proud of him. That just this thing I just said to him, that I'm proud of him, is going to last him a lifetime. Oh my God. Emotional intelligence. How many leaders really have it? We have boss leaders, bossy people. But being bossy doesn't make you a leader, man. You need emotional intelligence to navigate social complexities and make informed decisions. This is very critical. Leaders with high emotional intelligence can build stronger relationships and navigate social complexities better. Now that's 4. If you have the 4, please score yourself 4/6. We're coming. We're two more to go. And then the 5th one is resilience. Now this is the big one. Resilience is your ability to bounce back from setbacks. Some people think that when they get involved in life, everything should just be flowing, everything should just be okay, everything should just be fine. No. Resilience is your ability to bounce back from setback. Get these words, bounce back from setback. You can write it down if you want to. And the purpose of resilience is to maintain focus and effort in the face of challenges. Things may be rough and tough, but your focus is not affected in any way. You're maintaining your focus, you're pulling, you're pushing, all your effort is geared towards overcoming the challenge that you're faced with and delivering value. That is resilience. Continuing to work towards your goals despite the discouragement or the failures or the difficulties you face, you're sternly focusing on where you're going. That's resilience. Do you have that? As someone mentoring the next generation of leader, or as the next generation leader, do you have it? Think about it. And if you have it, 5/6. 5/6. Well, with 5 credits, we can give you admission to the University of Leadership. But let me give you the last one. And let me see if you have it. That's called adaptability. Adaptability. Now, this one is, there's a training I do, a course I call Adaptive Leadership. And this one is very beautiful. Adaptive leadership or adaptability simply means adjusting to new conditions and changes. Adapting to new conditions and adjusting to new conditions and changes. So for example, you were in a particular place where you were calling the shots or you were doing things your way. You find yourself in a place where they have a culture, and the culture you're not used to it. Your ability to adjust and fit into that culture is what adaptability really is. And as a leader, you must be able to adapt. When things are going in a different direction, how do you adjust to that direction and make sure that you still keep your focus, but you adjust your things, your pattern, your ways to make sure that you still arrive at the same goal. And so what's the purpose? What's the purpose of adaptability? The purpose really is to remain effective in various environments and situations. So wherever you find yourself, you still deliver the values you want to deliver by adjusting, making some adjustments here and there. That's what adaptability really is. And listen, those who were not able to adapt early, who were very late adapters, who didn't even adapt, can be likened to those who were using typewriters when the computer came. In fact, the computer didn't just come at one fell swoop. Something came in between the computer. The electric typewriter came in between the computers. They didn't adapt to the electrical typewriter, so they couldn't adjust to the computer. That was how they went out of job, and that was it. So adaptability is your ability to adjust to new conditions and changes, and it's critical for leadership. Very, very critical. So if you have been able to develop these skills, all right, if you've been able to develop these skills, there are skills that are so important. You need to learn these skills, take time and effort to develop them, but hey, they are important for your long-term success if you must get into leadership. So let me wrap up this show by quickly jumping in. I know I'm running out for time. I have 5 more minutes. Let me see what we can do with that, and let's see how far we can go. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you about is how you can inspire the future leaders. We all have that. Let's focus on inspiring the next generation of leaders. Role models play a significant role here. This is where role modeling becomes very important. All right, so the sharing stories that inspire leaders and their impacts can motivate significant role here, can help others to follow in their footsteps. One of the things that helped me, I read the story of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. I read his story in depth. I have this book on him, and very deep. Talks from his childhood to how his father was a chief and all of that, everything about him up to when he became president. And I read through that book, and Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was a great role model for me. You know, a man that stayed focused on what he wanted to achieve, and he achieved it. And then another quality of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was his humility and his consistency of eliminating greed from his life. He was not a greedy man. He was not a greedy person. He had one term in office. They were canvassing for him to return. He said, "No, I'm done. Somebody else should take the reins of office." And that was it. Great inspiration there. So role modeling is important. And then the next thing that's also going to help is encouraging participation in leadership roles, whether in schools, whether in communities, at workplace, and all of those things. We need to begin to encourage our young people to get involved in leadership roles deliberately. If we must raise the next generation of leaders, they need to get hands-on. They need to get involved. There's this problem I find with the older generation. They are afraid to let go. They are afraid to bring younger people, but they forget that their old age is these young people that will take decisions for them. So the earlier we get the young people involved in leadership and begin to help them to do things that they're supposed to learn hands-on, the better for everybody. Otherwise, they'll just dabble into it and there's going to be a problem, crisis situation. So creating a vision for the future is important. And how do we do that? We need to challenge young leaders to envision the kind of leaders they want to be and the changes they want to make. And we need to start doing that now. We need to inspire them to take action and make a difference. You know what? The future of leadership depends on the seeds we plant today. I hope you know that. And that's where critical thinking comes into play. Strategic thinking comes into play, because we need to be strategic. We need to look at 5 years from now. What kind of leadership are we going to have? What kind of nation are we going to have? What kind of family are you going to have? That's what we talk about. Find your voice. Finding your voice has to do with becoming who you were destined to be by learning the things you need. But ladies and gentlemen, that's how it's going to be on this show today. And that's a wrap up for the 3 episodes of the Leadership Challenge. And I believe that you have learned a lot, because we've explored the importance of leadership. We've looked at the challenges we face and how we can develop the next generation of leaders. I hope these discussions have inspired you to think about your own leadership journey and make impact that you can make in your world. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host on Find Your Voice with the Oxygen. They call me Emmanuel Dogba. I'm a speaker, counselor, and coach. And I am also known as the one and only Oxygen. You know why? Because wherever I go, life flows. And this is your best station, Grace Impact Radio, where we have world music and entertainment. And I'll be signing out. I think I'll plead with my studio manager. Let's hear the song one more time, Hall of Fame. I'm thrilled and enthused, and that's how I'll be signing out with the song Hall of Fame. Ciao, ciao. See you next week.